Welcome to our presentation on making the case for change management. My name is Francesca. I'm the Consumer Training Lead and Content Manager for OCM Solution. I'll be taking you through today's presentation. This video is designed to give you ideas and pointers on how you can present this same PowerPoint to leadership, project sponsors, project teams, and others in your organization. You can purchase and download this PowerPoint slide deck at ocmsolution.com. So let's get started. I'll go over some features and benefits of downloading this presentation at the end. First, what is change management? Also known as Organizational Change Management or OCM. Change management involves applying a structured change methodology to manage the people side of change. Now, what do I mean by the people side of change? The people we're talking about are the ones that will be impacted by a project. This could be employees, customers, vendors, or another stakeholder group. Any project that impacts the way people do things requires those people to adopt something new, to change something in their normal habits and workflow. People need help and guidance adopting those changes successfully. Change management is all about providing that help so project adoption can succeed. Now we need to start from a basic understanding of human nature. People don't like change. They don't like to change their workflows or habits that they're used to. As we adopt habits, that activity becomes easier. For example, say you're learning how to enter customers into a brand new CRM program. When you first learn, it will take longer and seem harder. But after entering those names week in and week out, you'll develop a routine. It becomes comfortable. Your brain doesn't need to think about all the steps anymore. You know them intuitively because they're now a habit. People don't like to change the habits they're comfortable with. This is normal and expected behavior. Change management teams understand that resistance to change is natural. What they do is engage with impacted individuals and groups to resolve that natural resistance so a project can achieve the expected adoption. One of the basic theories of change management comes from Lewin. His change management model is based on the habits that we just discussed and how people get frozen into those old ways of doing things. Whether it be a process, software, system, culture, or some other habit. Change management engagement unfreezes those old behaviors. It transitions people with awareness, training, and other forms of engagement to teach them the required new behaviors. Then, change management ensures those new behaviors are refrozen. In other words, they become the new normal, the new habits. So let's take this from concept to real world. Imagine that the old frozen behavior is using sticky notes for task management. That's not very efficient because those sticky notes can easily get lost. They also can't be searched like tasks in a cloud system. So the organization introduces a project to move everyone to a new digital task management system. It's supposed to increase productivity by making task management more efficient. The change managers let the users know about the upcoming changes, address questions and concerns, and basically facilitate their transition through the various forms of engagement. Once the new digital system goes live, change management provides additional support. The team watches for resistance and needed training. They help users adopt that more new efficient way to manage tasks. In other words, they refreeze the habit of doing tasks in the software as the new normal. What happens if there is no change management? Say the project management team just deployed the task management software and leadership just expected everyone to start using it. Sound familiar? Well, as you may have guessed, a lot of people will go running back to their sticky notes and abandon the software for various reasons. Some may find it too hard to use and were never properly trained. Another may think that it makes their job harder, so they choose to stay with what they know. There are multiple reasons for user resistance. And because there was no change management, there was no resistance mitigation. So the project fails, and productivity doesn't go up because a majority of the impacted stakeholders aren't using the new system. Project management can deploy a project solution successfully with everything working perfectly, but if users aren't using that solution, then the project fails. This is often what happens when there is no adequate change management. Users go back to their old comfortable habits. Many organizations have historically defined project success when the project solution is successfully deployed. But as we just discussed, if you build it, there's no guarantee people will use it. Remove people from the project success equation, and companies don't meet the project ROI expectations. Looking at the project steps, first you have the project idea. Then the project is planned. Then the project is deployed. You can see why if you stop here, it's hard to reach the ROI and benefits step. True project success depends on people adopting the solution the project is designed to provide to the organization. Thus, you need the critical user adoption step to reach the payoff. It takes two teams to make a project successful. The project management side, which is the deployment success, and the change management side, which is the adoption success. Project teams are responsible for designing, developing, testing, delivering, and maintaining solutions. Change management teams are responsible for helping impacted users embrace, adopt, and become proficient in using those new solutions. Some organizational leaders that don't fully understand change management may see it as unnecessary. They see it as some type of coddling to make employees okay with the changes. Studies and experience show that this is not what change management is all about. Incorporating change management into projects that impact the way people do things is not just a feel-good move. It helps ensure that projects reach that all-important user adoption so they can achieve better outcomes and meet or exceed ROI expectations. Let's take a look at some hard facts about this. This first study comes from well-known global consulting company McKinsey. It studied project outcomes from companies that used organizational change management and those that either didn't use it or used the bare minimum. The study found that companies that used little to no change management only saw an average of 35% of the expected return on investment. By comparison, projects using effective change management to facilitate user adoption saw an average of 143% of the expected ROI. That's a significant difference. This next study is by well-known OCM research firm ProSci. It sheds some light on why ROI is so much better when change management is incorporated into a project. This study looked at the quality of the change management provided. For example, was change management introduced at the very beginning of the project and used throughout the project past go live, which is a hallmark of excellent OCM? Or was it just brought in at the end, barely giving the change management team enough time to do anything, an indicator of poor OCM. This study shows that the more effective the change management, the better the project KPIs for staying on schedule and on budget. Only 14% of the projects with poor OCM stayed on schedule, as compared to 71% of those with excellent OCM. When it comes to the project budget, less than half, 48% of projects with poor OCM stayed on budget, while 81% of projects with excellent OCM met their budget expectations. Both of these graphs illustrate how OCM is a bottom-line decision. Projects have a much better chance of succeeding and meeting performance and financial goals when change management is used to ensure users are transitioned successfully. When you help impacted stakeholders successfully adopt the changes a project requires through the use of change management support, you experience several value adds that improve project outcomes. Better communication. Leaders gain a better understanding of project impacts. User resistance is reduced. User adoption rates are increased. Project risk areas can be identified in time to address them and keep the project on track. As we've discussed, projects achieve better ROIs. The reporting from change management activities enhances project decision-making. Employee productivity and morale are also both boosted. One important question that needs to be addressed when any organization is planning to incorporate OCM support for a project is, when should change management begin? The short answer is at the beginning of the project. Some project teams bring in change management too late, such as right before the project is going live in the organization, and people are expected to adopt the changes. This doesn't give the OCM team any time to prepare people. Change managers need time to assess project impacts, plan engagement, deploy those plans, and survey stakeholders to see where readiness gaps may exist. As soon as the project is approved and has the basics such as a timeline, a project charter or description, change management should be brought to the table. So what do change management teams do? Ultimately, they get people ready for project deployment, also known as the go-live date. They engage with impacted stakeholders to ensure they can successfully adopt the changes the project requires. The two key goals that drive change management are: get people ready to adopt the changes by the project's go-live date, and ensure those changes are sustained or refrozen after go-live as the new normal. So what do people need to be ready? There are 5 key attributes that point to users being ready to successfully adopt the changes a project requires. These are awareness. They have to be aware a change is even happening. Acceptance. This is also known as support. Users have to be accepting to make the changes they're required to make. Capacity. Impacted users need to have the time to learn the things they need to learn to change successfully. Knowledge. People need to have a knowledge of exactly what is changing in their workflow, behaviors, or habits. And training. Certain projects will require formal training, such as projects where users need to adopt a new software. Now, all these readiness KPIs and other change management metrics should be tracked in a system that allows you to create meaningful reporting. As an example, the OCM Solution Change Management Platform provides a Change Readiness Toolkit. In this toolkit is a survey that has questions relating to these 5 user KPIs. Once they're collected, readiness reporting can be generated automatically. Now let's talk about the change management readiness cycle. To properly prepare teams for successful project adoption, the readiness cycle is used. It drives engagement activities, also known as readiness activities. The readiness assessment is typically done early in the project to give the change management team a baseline of where the impacted stakeholders are. Do they know about the project? Do they have knowledge of what workflow habit will change? How are they feeling about the project, good or not? These are all things change managers need to know so they can make plans for readiness engagement. After the results of the readiness assessment, engagement activities are planned and deployed to fill readiness gaps. So the readiness cycle starts out with that initial survey. It asks about those 5 KPIs. Is there awareness? Is there acceptance? Capacity? Knowledge? Is training needed? Based on the results, readiness engagement activities are planned. These can include everything from training, sending awareness communications, coaching impacted managers, and more. Then those activities are deployed throughout the organization. Once that's complete, the change management team needs to check in again and see where does readiness stand now. Do most of the impacted stakeholders now have awareness? Do they have a basic knowledge of what needs to be done to change? Do you still have a lot of stakeholders that need resistance management, or are most of them on board? After you go through the cycle, you get to a point where your readiness score is high. Then you'll know the users are ready. Ideally, this will coincide with the project's go-live date. If it doesn't, then the change management team, project management team, and project sponsors might need to have a discussion on extending the go-live date. So what types of readiness engagement activities are done to help move people through that readiness cycle? Communications are sent out about the project. There are briefings and meetings. These can include things like webinars where the team is learning what the new process is going to be, or it may be one-on-one meetings to help mitigate a user's resistance. There's training and coaching, resistance mitigation, and more. And more can include things like standing up a network of change champions. These are peers in an organization who help drive support for the change. Now we're going to touch on a very high-level overview of what the change management workflow looks like. It's important for leadership to have visibility into this process so they understand the importance of inviting change management support to a project as soon as possible. This process is based on the OCM solution change management workflow. It includes 5 key phases of change management: assess, develop, deploy, normalize, and exit. In the first phase, assess, change managers are learning about the project and performing various assessments. This will include an impact assessment to see which areas of the organization are being impacted by a project, the first readiness assessment to get a baseline of where users are, a communication assessment, stakeholder assessment, and more. The next phase is the develop phase. Here the change management team takes the information learned in the first phase about the project and its impacts on the organization and stakeholders and uses that to develop a change management plan. A plan that will help ensure everyone in the organization being impacted is accounted for and receives the necessary change management to facilitate user adoption. In phase 3, the deploy phase, the change management plan is deployed, and the OCM team is actively engaging with stakeholders in a number of ways. Reporting is being generated and reviewed throughout this phase to guide engagement activities and ensure that any project risk is identified early and mitigated to keep user adoption goals and project goals on track to ensure project success. Phase 4 is the normalize phase. You'll see that it comes after the project's go-live date. It's a critical phase for user adoption, and many projects end up failing because they had no change management during this time. It's after people are expected to begin adopting a new process, tool, or system into their workflow that they typically run into barriers. During this phase, the change management team is providing post-go-live support and monitoring for any resistance or other barriers that would impede user adoption. The final phase is the exit phase. This is largely a housekeeping phase, when the change management team is handing off support resources to the teams taking permanent responsibility for the project solution. The all-important post-mortem report is also created during this time. It looks at things that went well, as well as things that can be improved upon. This is an important report that drives continuous improvement of project and change management outcomes. So when does change management end? It definitely doesn't end when the project goes live, as we've just seen. Ideally, the change management support for a project will continue at least 4 to 6 weeks after the project has been deployed. This helps ensure that users get the support needed to cross the finish line into user adoption success. In other words, they refreeze those changed behaviors as the new normal. Some of the things that the OCM teams will do during this 4 to 6 week span after the project goes live are providing help and FAQ resources, assessing whether more training may be needed, tracking user adoption metrics, keeping users from running back to old behaviors instead of normalizing the change, and providing that final report on lessons learned. Okay, so let's recap on why change management is an important part of project success. Change management support should be added to any project that involves changing the way people do things. When it's added, the project has a much better chance of succeeding and achieving the expected ROI because people are actually adopting and using the project solution. Remember, project management is the deployment success, and change management is the adoption success. Both are needed for a project to be seen as truly successful. And that completes this overview of the OCM solution making the case for change management presentation. I hope you found it helpful and insightful. You can purchase and download this slide deck now to help you make the case for OCM in your organization. To find it, visit ocmsolution.com. Then click the About link and choose Make the Case for OCM. This PowerPoint presentation is only $29.99, and it has multiple features. Here are just a few. Premium content written by change managers. Helpful slide notes that enhance your presentation. It comes in the popular widescreen slide deck size. It's ready to present as soon as you download it, but you can also edit it if you like. As you've seen, the presentation is designed to be comprehensive and get straight to the point of why change management is a vital part of project success. Want to take a closer look at the OCM solution platform? We invite you to join one of our weekly live webinars. You'll find a link at the top of our website menu. As always, please feel free to reach out to us anytime with questions. Thanks for visiting OCM Solution. Have a wonderful day.